Hi folks, Six Slices here. Now, Warthogg, Rick, great to see you back in the land of the living. Very, very pleased to see you looking so healthy, particularly with you out and about, out in your deck this morning. But you were saying the other day that you wanted to be able to show some of the stag that we own. And I thought, well, I'd just do that because I'm a big fan of stag. So I'm starting here with something that actually isn't stag. It just sort of is supposed to look like stag, and it's not exactly a high quality piece. But what this is, if I can get it out of the sheath, is not actually the first fixed blade I ever owned, but it's the same as the first fixed blade I ever owned. The one I had, I got smashed and this got broken, but I think it perhaps shows intent, because this was, I say, first fixed blade I owned, and probably within the first half dozen knives I ever owned. So it should give an idea where we're going. And to give you an idea of where I am today, this here is the top of, well, I'm obviously disabled. I can walk a little bit. I use a stick. I have this hazel stick, and it has a bit of stag as the handle at the top, which I bought from a local show, an agricultural show. All the villages and towns in here are agricultural shows. So I'll just show you a few other bits and pieces of stag that I've got. This one here, I'll start with the fixed blades. This one here is from a company or a maker called Sin Knives, who are Japanese, and it's made of VG10 steel. I bought it because I have a kind of buying philosophy, and it kind of says that I buy British knives and Japanese knives. I like Barlows, so I like the long bolster, and I like stag. So this kind of it's not a fixed blade, and not something I tend to buy very much of, but they just hit all the targets there, and it is a very, very, very beautiful knife. It's got this stag with red liners over the VG10. It's a one-piece full tang knife, and the bolsters are part of it as well. Part of the blade. So it's just one piece of steel from end to end. But it's got this real nice stag. It doesn't necessarily match desperately well, but both sides are really nice. So that's the hat. Then I have a couple of other fixed blades to show you. This one here is by Ashley Harrison. Now Ashley is a Sheffield knife maker. He and his dad own Arthur Wright and Sons, and Ashley's the workshop manager. And my daughter was getting married, so I asked him to make some knives for myself and the best man and the groom, and he did, and these are beautiful. I ended up actually giving one to Tobias Gibson in Knife Chats with Tobias as well, because he was after a ski and do. The thing about this is ski and do. Ski and do's are traditional knives that are worn in the right sock when you're wearing a kilt. Usually they're bits of cheap tat. This is a very functional knife in 01 tool steel with, say, stag handles. It does have a video. These all have videos of their own, so you can search them out if you want to see them. This one here is a bit of a cross wires really, because the groom ordered some ski and do's as well, which this was one, and these are stag. I sharpened these and put a polished edge on them, but I do notice that this side has actually got some rust on it. So there's a wee job for me to do when this video is over, is to clean that off. That's not very nice. This is Damascus steel. I'm not a big fan of Damascus, but I can forgive it in a ski and do because they're not really, everyday user knives, but they're pulled out on occasion. But I do think a ski and do should be functional. So, as I say, I put a nice polished edge on it using the workshop precision adjust. It actually came out very well, and it's exceptionally sharp. Right, move on to some folders. Could be here all day, so I have to try and move as swiftly as I can. Let's start off with Stephen Cocker. I'm a big fan of Stephen Cocker's work. He makes some really, really nice knives. He made these. This isn't nothing really to do with it. I just happened to mention it because I just got it. I'll be doing a video on this. Is a Stannington Parlor that I just got from him, which is just a slightly unusual Barlow. These two are Stephen Cocker's. This is his kind of standard Barlow, and this is his air trick. And I've got another one somewhere. Oh yes, here it is. And his slim Barlow. He has really good stag. I don't know where he gets it from, but it's got really nice figuring in it, real quality stuff. And you know, it's not as though he's sort of had one bit and it's been good. He's consistently got really nice stag. I particularly like this knife actually, the slim Barlow. So that's Stephen. Now I mentioned Ashley. That's an Ashley Harrison. That's an Ashley Harrison. And that's an Ashley Harrison. And that's an Ashley Harrison. So I've four of his in stag. I've got about 20 or so of his knives, I think, but I did a video on them all the other day, so I'll not labour the point. This is when my knives worked back. I don't think he has the best stag as a rule, but there is for every rule there's an exception, and that is this one. This is his Senator, which his dad does this is called chasing. His dad used to be a die chaser. In other words, somebody who cut out dies, which are things you use for moulding and cutting. And so he is very skilled with a chisel, and he does this sort of creeper vine sort of pattern on the back of these spines. He does it, as I say, with a chisel and a hammer, and then the brass liners are milled. But it makes a really stunning knife. Now I've 4 of these Senators. This is the only one I've got in stag. This one here, it was a Ashley special rather than a straightforward production knife. These other 3 are all just production knives. So this is a really nice knife, and it's one I carry an awful lot. It's picked up some horrendous patina, and I keep thinking I should probably just take it back to shiny again, because it did have a really nice polished blade, and I probably will do. But I use this. I use it as a fruit knife for cutting my daily apple. It's as I say, it's got its own video somewhere. It's a really nice knife. I like that a lot. So that's Ashley. Now everybody knows I like Taylor's Eyewitness, so I have a couple of Taylor's Eyewitness. Now Taylor's Eyewitness don't actually do stag, but they do stag to special order if the stag is provided for them, and they do that for the famous Sheffield shop, which is where this Barlow came from. Now this is the most gorgeous of stag. It came from Woburn Abbey, incidentally, which is in England. There's a safari park there, and this is where this stag came from. I've done a video about that. I've got some stories from when I was a child, but this is really kind of bulbous. It takes the teardrop shape of the Barlow and translates it into 3 dimensions, which I really like. It's one of my favourites of my Taylor's Eyewitness knives. It's possibly it's not completely centred and so on, but it's just such a nice knife. This is a Lee White, by the way. This one isn't a Lee White. What I don't know is who it's by. I asked Lee if he could pin it down, and he said there are perhaps 3 options. It's not old because of the package that it came in. It could be his brother Richard, it could be Michael May, or it could be Keith Moby, but it's one of those 3, but not Lee, and not later than that. this is one of these ones that came up as new old stock, and I have Lev to thank for that. Thank you, Lev, for pointing that one out to me, or I would never have seen it and wouldn't have got it, I suspect. Now, talking of Michael May, let's have a couple. Have I got more than one Michael May? I've got several. I've got about 8 Michael Mays, all of which are very good knives, by the way. I know he has sort of a semi-dubious reputation, but in actual fact, I think he's a very good knife maker. He was trained at Taylor's Eyewitness by Keith Moby, and he trained Lee White. So, you know, there's some heritage there. This is one of his. This is an Ettrick. This is the Ettrick with the pruner blade. Actually, that's a lie. I thought it was the pruner blade, but this is actually the proper Ettrick. I've got another one by him which has the pruner blade, which I think is in elm rather than stag. But anyway, he also, one of the other things that Michael often does, or mostly does, is brass bolsters. Makes a very nice knife. Notice how I've got about 8 Michael May knives. They're all, if they're not perfect, they're all very, very good. I mean, these are proper handmade artisan knives in a very traditional style. What else have we got? That's, I think, all my Sheffield knives. Then I've got some German ones. I've got a couple of Bokers. This Copperhead, nice bit of stag, is one I picked up from the Apostle P. So this one was made in Solingen in Germany. Was sold to somebody in America. I bought it from northwest Indiana, and it's come all the way back to me here. This one, on the other hand, came straight from Solingen to Heine Haynes and on to me. It's a little lockback, which I really like. Little lockbacks. I find this a bit fiddly, so I don't really actually use this one. I've carried this Copperhead quite a lot, but I don't tend to carry this one just because it's a little bit awkward. Plus, although it's only got it's not even a 2-inch blade, but you know, in the UK these days, it's the weapon of mass destruction, and you deserve to go to prison for life if you want to carry something like that. I've got this sort of slightly bigger brother. There's the Mazarin lockback. It's very similar, the sort of type and style, and again, it's a stag knife. I like a bit of stag, but this one is pushing to a 3-inch blade, so this is the sort of thing you definitely could get into trouble in the UK for, but I like it. It's a nice knife. So that's those European ones. Then this one is Chinese, but Chinese of quality. This is a JE made. I've 3 JE made knives, S35 VN blade, and titanium integral bolster and liners with stag inlays. I've got another one is plain titanium, another one is carbon fibre, but I really like the stag, but this isn't necessarily my favourite pattern. One thing I do like about Jay made, he makes these, this is the Phoenix, but he does it even though his Lanny's clips and things, he makes this sort of copperhead shape to the bolster, which means you never have a sticking out tang, unlike, you know, more sort of normal, you have a sort of jaggy tang on the end, but with J made you never get that, which is, I think, is very nice. I think the last stag knife is this one here. Now, I'm a big fan of this knife. Now, I'm told it's stag, although I'm not actually convinced it is. To me, it could be what we call stag bone. So a bone that's jigged to look like stag, but it's supposed to be burnt stag. This knife is just, I mean, it's a little knife, but it's got beautiful hand engraved bolsters inset with 24 karat gold on both sides, and it's I think it's BT42 steel. It's made in New Jersey by a guy called Tim Britton, and it has this lovely Warncliffe blade, and this is one of my better fruit knives. I keep wanting to do a video on the best knives to use for cutting up apples but I need to have a few apples to do that with, and I don't want to waste them. I like my apples, but this is a very good fruit knife. The only problem is it's slightly short for cutting apples. You have to kind of slice bits off them rather than cut them all the way through. But that's a beautiful bit of stag. And then I'll just close off with some not stag, but you know, attempts at copying it. So, well, let's start with these two. A couple of Rough Riders. I always like this knife just because it's just so big. It's just big and humongous. And then there's a cotton sampler. Now these are both bone that's jigged to look like stag. So it's just cut in a machine to look like stag and coloured like stag. And actually, you know, for knives that cost, I mean, I think this one is 20 something quid and this one was about 15 or something. Well, this one was actually a gift to me by one of my subs. And I can never remember who gave it to me, which is really bad, because I should remember, because I should give them a shout out now. Can't remember who it was. Sorry. But he just sent it to me for nothing. So he said he'd never carry it. This one here is case. Actually, I've got a couple of other cases with this stag bone. I quite like it. I can't get too excited about a case Parlor. I like Parlors. Parlors are a favourite pattern of mine, but the case ones I just don't find them very exciting. They're a little bit on the small side for one thing, and compared to tailors, for example, and just a bit plain and ordinary. But I mean, they're very nice. I have two case Parlors, both very nicely put together. But this one is an attempt to copy stag, but it isn't actually stag. And then finally, now this one, I think this is why I'm dubious of the Britain. And the Britain, I'm told, is stag, sold to me as stag, and you know, I'm no reason to say it wasn't. But I think it's a very similar material to this Moki Kronos. But the Kronos is definitely not stag. It's stag bone, so it's bone jigged to look like stag. But this is done so well. I mean, it really is. If you told me that was stag, I would absolutely believe you. It looks like burnt stag. I wouldn't doubt you for a second, but apparently it's not. So just finally, the only other bit of stag I've got lying around here is a ferro rod, which is done with a Stag Point. One of the things I really like about stag, which I should have said at the outset, is that you don't need to kill a deer to get the antlers. They drop them every year. People pick them up, and you can get a stag, you know, the monarch of the glen, a 14-point stag. He's got maybe 14 of these points on his antlers, which is great, and it allows me to have all of these beautiful stag handled knives which I just love. And of course this one, no stag was harmed in the making of that because it's plastic. But oh, there's two more that I forgot. You've seen them already, but these are my stag handled knives. So thank you very much. See you later.